Mainly dry for the rest of today. Tonight will be dry in the east and south, but there will be showers in parts of Connacht, Ulster and West Munster. Minimum temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Hello there, welcome along. So tonight we are bringing you, I would comfortably say, one of the best interviews that we'll manage to put together all year. David Myler is coming up from 8:30. We're starting the football show early. 8:30 through until 10 o'clock. He's coming your way. 7:30 we'll have Mark O'Shea ahead of Saturday's All-Ireland football final. Plus Keith Wood is on Wednesday Night Rugby. Text number 53106 as ever. And you'll get us on Twitter at Off the Ball. Richie McCormick is here as usual. Hello.
How you do? We kind of have to remind ourselves that there's an All-Ireland football final replay on Saturday. It seems odd because without wanting to say that we're stretching the build-up to the main final, but it seemed like the whole thing of Dublin are going to win it again kind of had an element of that. So now you're going into Dublin are probably going to win it again.
And yet the first game was brilliant, and we know for a fact the next game's going to be brilliant. Maybe the coverage isn't as wonderful and novel as it might otherwise be, but the games are brilliant.
I'll stop you there, Joe.
Oh, well.
I'll stop you there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
well, at least he's free. You can get him in for the pay-per-view on Sunday. Can I share what he said to me when he first came into the office?
I don't know, can you?
I have to temper it. I have to tidy it up somewhat.
Yeah. I don't know, can you?
I have to tidy it up somewhat. I can, yeah. It's legally, it's fine. But there's a door outside that's locked.
I want to register. I'm uncomfortable right now.
It's grand.
Okay.
This is fine. It's purely an observation on his behalf and a correct one.
Okay.
So there we go. I was producing, as you know, Sundays at the time. There's a door outside that's locked.
How could I forget, Richie?
Exactly. They're the good times. And he knocked to be let in after being told, Joe Brawley's on the way up. I was like, all right, grand. So I went to let him in. Usually you open the door to somebody and their thing is, how are you getting on? I'm Joe. It's, hello, how are you? Oh, sorry, I'm blah, 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 here for the pay-per-view. That's the usual course of action. I open the door. Brawley's first words to me, Jesus, you're some big effer, aren't you? First words, hey, Joe, how are you? I'm Richie from Off the Wall. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
See? Fine.
Good story, in fact. Yeah. Ronan Mullen also here. Hello.
Joe, how are you?
Sorry, I've stopped Rose.
You're grand.
No, you're fine.
And I've touched you in a very Joe Brawley-like way there as well.
I was shook there, as you said. I've got something there, and I thought this could be controversial. I was shook because I'm still recovering from what happens during the first half.
Can we play this again?
Of a relatively dull Ireland first half. Now, the second half I'll come to. Jack Byrne.
We're going to get texts.
Wes, I love you. And I always will love you, Wes. You'll be my first love. But I'm about to knee at the altar of Jack Byrne, I can tell you, after that second half. But in the first half, things weren't so hot. And Stewie Byrne decided to liven up proceedings.
Or you're getting this out. So you got to send in your jokes, right? What you call
Send in your jokes.
What you call a Bulgarian footballer with 3 balls? It's football related. Who to Nikobolikov? It's quality, isn't it? It's all in the delivery, Nathan.
Oh my God! Joe Malloy is gone as well. It's not just me. I can't believe that just happened.
That's perfectly.
Thank God nothing has happened on the pitch.
That's perfectly. Send in your jokes.
Apologies if anyone's offended by that.
How can anyone be offended by that? See if you can beat that.
You'd be surprised.
See if you can beat that.
You'd be surprised, Stewie.
That's by far my favourite bit of that.
It should be our new hashtag.
Bookending that with send in your jokes. There's no reason for it. There's no reason to send in your jokes.
Because he came in when he first arrived at around 7, or about 7:15, we were getting ready to go on air. He said to me mysteriously, I'm going to put a theme on the night. And I was like, okay.
Oh, God.
And I thought he meant midfield play or something. And he said, jokes. I said, what? He said, you'll see. And then the jokes flooded in, none of which we could read out.
Several of them were very offensive. Yeah, very offensive.
So,
At least he lightened the mood for what was a ridiculously boring first half.
It was so bad.
It was tedious.
I had really pushed that we do the game.
Well done.
Like, big time.
You really went to bat, Joe.
Really did. I could have been a 25-minute conversation with Adrian Barry, where I swore to him, I think I must have said, honestly, 45 times, if it's an Ireland game, it's a no-brainer, we do it.
Because I was on, was it Wednesday afternoon? I turned around at one point because I was about to plug in my bulletins whether or not we had the game live tomorrow night. And I was like, AB, have we got the game? No, I don't think so. So I wasn't plugging the game. I turned around by 7 o'clock. It had been, we're doing the game live. I was like, all right, grand, okay.
We're doing what bells on.
Game's live tomorrow and off the ball.
So I was...
One of the pillars of your argument, Joe, was Jack Byrne.
Yes, correct.
So in fairness, he turned up
I
in a
stand
big
there
way.
with that. I stand there with that. I said, look, we could miss the start of Jack Byrne's international career, or certainly Jack Byrne becoming a massive talking point. And I don't know how well it came across on TV, because I just heard from someone afterwards that it wasn't as glowing on the TV maybe, or just from people watching on TV. Maybe because you're not as invested in this pointless game. It's hard to be really zoned in. But honestly, so much of it was watching Jack Byrne even when he mightn't have been in camera, because he was just demanding the ball. He was non-stop. It's a bit like when I've seen him twice now for Rovers in person at the Tala Stadium, and it's like that, except they're giving him the ball quicker in Tala because they understand how good he is and how he goes about his business. But when he first came on, this had been a game where the pattern was not to put much play together. So the players weren't even in the habit of playing these short, sharp passes. It just was not how the game was flowing. And he comes on, and at one point, so he's over, and he comes over to like somebody and looks for the ball off them from like 3 yards away. And they're almost like, no, get away from
But there was a brilliant tweet by, and I had to pull this up just now, and I knew you were going to mention it. Ozzy Ryan tweeted last night going, Jack Byrne showing his lack of experience at this level for Ireland by continually pointing at his feet and calling for the ball.
Yeah, it's not how it works, Jack. It's not how we do things here.
Not around here, no.
And so, but he kept doing it. At one point, he gets into a right good, I was going to say an exchange with John Egan, but only one person is shouting at one person. And it's him shouting at the captain for the night, saying, you give me the ball the next time. Give me the ball. He was kind of, just give it, what's wrong with you? And time goes by, he gets a shot from 30 yards, pulls it wide, okay, maybe not the greatest thing to do in that moment, but he keeps going over, keeps demanding the ball. And then he starts getting on the ball, and then he starts doing things. Then he starts getting the team moving. Then he starts even really putting lads in good positions and firing balls into the right place. You saw the lovely ball over the top for the end of Stephen's cross for the goal. But it gets to a point where by the end of the whole night, he's changed the flow of the game. He's changed how the team are playing. And when players have the ball and he comes to within 3 yards, they were just like, oh no, you take it. Point proven, you know what you're doing here. And it was just exhilarating. Genuinely, I'm not overstating it. Me and Stewie were just buzzed up afterwards, and we were like, we have seen something here. And Mick McCarthy may not put him into Tbilisi for sure, but as Stewie said, this guy has now gone, and this was only a friendly, and it was only 25 minutes.
Bulgaria, it has to be said, are awful.
I know, but here's the point. They were awful in the first minute too. They were awful all the way through until Jack Byrne came on, and nobody was doing anything close to this. He has gone now, and Stewie said this and I agree, he's gone from being the 24th man left out against the Swiss on Thursday to now has to be on the bench and a real case for getting on for the last 20 minutes to change the flow of the game. Honestly, it was exhilarating. It was brilliant.
Well, McCarthy's MO for last night was to have a look at players that are within that squad that he mightn't have used a lot until now. And he said beforehand, he said as much like, I want to be given selection headaches. He spoke about it particularly about left back, but ultimately I don't think that's going to happen with Conor Harron.
No, he said as much.
But he said he wants headaches going into Georgia and Switzerland, and I think Byrne has more than anybody last night probably put his hand up. James Collins probably is another one as well too.
Like, he won't start. I'm not advocating that either. Maybe he shouldn't start because it's too...
Starting's no.
Big a step
No.
up. Davey, the taxi driver, come on, lads. Jack Byrne came on with zero pressure on him. Of course he was able to go and play. Throw him in there the previous Thursday against Switzerland. It's a totally different story. There's a reason he's still not in England. Are you telling me, Davey, he didn't come on with pressure on him?
Can we stop this nonsense, by the way, of England being the only measure of whether a player is good or not?
Yeah. Trust me, he can play in England. He will play in England.
I don't think England's even where he should be looking. He should be looking somewhere in the continent again.
Do you think he'd start a meaningful game for Ireland before he makes a move from this league?
No.
When's he making a move from the league?
That's the question. I don't know. Do you think he can establish himself in the team without having to leave the country?
No, what happened?
I think if he's still at Shamrock Rovers when Stephen Kenny comes in, he will start competitive games for Stephen Kenny as a Shamrock Rovers player. He will absolutely not start them for Mick.
No, because
I don't think it's a case of whether or not he's a Shamrock Rovers player for Mick not starting him. Mick has his set frontline 15, 16 players that he's going to use between now and the end of the Euros.
Which leads me to question what you were saying about him wanting headaches, because I don't think he does. I just think he would have preferred if he came on and did okay. So it doesn't give him this. All the questions before the next game are going to be: is Jack Byrne starting?
But I think
they're going to simmer down to is he in the squad?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Look, this is not a Jack Byrne has to start conversation. That is not what it is. And this is not a Mick McCarthy is a dinosaur if he doesn't play Jack Byrne. I think it's totally fair for Mick to say, look, lads, he's clearly got great talent and he's going to get there, but we've got these crunch games to win. These are cup finals. Yeah. He's not going to start them.
We all know the managerial setup. Mick has a finite time in charge, and that's going to come to an end. And whatever he does between now and then is geared towards qualifying for the Euros and performing well at the Euros, and that's it. And that's the only prism through which Mick should be judged.
Totally fair. But what we saw last night was a player who we wondered, even could he translate it up from Shamrock Rovers to the next level, and he just did in spades. Like, it was just incredible in the stadium to watch how he completely, one player, all 5 foot whatever of him, just totally transformed the pattern of the game, how Ireland were playing, how people around him were playing. And the set piece delivery was fantastic, led to goals. So it was just a brilliant night. And like, you think of Dave McGoldrick, who's got great feet, he wants someone to link up with. Like, you can just see him and Byrne linking up brilliantly. Oh, it was just great, you know. So I feel glad we did the friendly commentary, is the point.
But rightly or wrongly, he is going to be the embodiment of the League of Ireland on the pitch. Like, that's our representative out there. And in the past, like, there's actually a good bit of star power in the league at the moment in a way there mightn't have been maybe 10 years ago, where it would have been tokenism. I remember talk of, like, should we have a quota where one League of Ireland player has to be included in the squad? So that was obviously nonsensical. But now you can see him, he went in and did the job. Like, I remember Graham Burke in the previous regime come in and scored a goal, and Martin O'Neill was almost like, it did give him a headache where, like, he's after coming on and making an impact, but I don't really want to use him necessarily. So I think this is a totally different scenario, and you could trust Jack Byrne in the qualifiers, no problem.
And for the people texting in, he let him do it in England or whatever, like, he did it in the Dutch league and did it very well, and he's come through at City, and, you know,
I think that's partially what Byrne's problem was. He bounced around the likes of Oldham and Blackburn and Kilmarnock, where the type of football you're being asked to play is slightly retrograde.
He kicked over his head.
He'd get killed. Because there were a few periods, especially when he first came on, where 2, 3, 4 minutes went by and he wasn't getting the ball and he was losing the plot. What the hell is this? You know? And so if he goes to those types of clubs, it's a disaster for him, and he'll get lumps kicked out of him and he'll start to hate football very quickly. He needs good people around him who, if and when the move comes, Shamrock Rovers fans will love that conversation, I know, and just the reality.
To be honest with you, I think they've, I don't know if they want to openly admit it, but they mentally would have accepted the fact that he's a staging post for them.
Yeah. So he just needs to make the right move and go to the right club who play the right football. I'm a big Jack Byrne fan. One swan, never made a summer. Yeah, I know. So,
but at least it's heartening.
Or is it, JP has pedantically written in, the phrase is one swallow doesn't make a summer. Take that, John. But also, look, we're not saying that. We're not saying this guy has to go in the Ireland starting 11. We're not saying any of that. We're just saying there was this drab friendly and none of the players out there were doing it. And no one else who came on, James Collins obviously did very well, but, you know, in terms of midfield play, Hendrick didn't have the impact. This guy did.
Jeff Hendrick.
He really did. And I think Jeff Hendrick started trying to get in the ball more when he saw what Byrne was doing. I think it was contagious. It was like a heartening night. And like, you're looking on your phone and seeing Troy Parrott do his thing and you're thinking, okay, we actually might be okay here in the medium term.
Can we just have a note about that under 21 team? Because I know a lot of people are going to blow out of proportion the impact possibly of a Troy Parrott or an Aaron Connolly or whatever. The main takeaway that I had from that game last night, because I was watching it inside in the office against Sweden, that under 21 team, whether it's a Stephen Kenny thing or whether it's the players themselves, play with no fear. There is no, my first memories of Irish football date back to around 88, 89, that kind of period, where even though we were successful, there's an inferiority complex. The mantra is stop them playing and then we'll do what we can do. And then from there on we get McCarthy and we get into the Stan Trapattoni years where we're talking about we don't have the players, but that team are playing like they think they are, and often cases they are better than the opposition, and it shows in the pitch, and it's just brilliant to watch. They played a Sweden team off the park in great periods of that match last night and deserved the win.
Yeah, didn't see it in full, but by all accounts that's very much the case. Look, we come on here and moan plenty of times, so it's good to actually come on and say, well, this was a really good night for Irish football.
We're going to win a trophy under Stephen Kenny, Joe.
Well,
clip that.
Just before we get into the news round, I really do want to emphasise David Myler is really worth your time. So in the end, we were meant to have kind of a half-hour chat with him. It became 58 minutes. He was just quite brilliant. We're going to play it out between 8:30 and 10 o'clock. We'll obviously podcast it in full. It'll go on YouTube in full. And my overwhelming sense coming away from it was he's an extraordinary person. We never probably realised just how dedicated he was to the Irish cause and the things he sacrificed on certain days. He goes into some of that. It's really, really, really well worth your time. He was presented to the crowd last night at half-time, and I almost wish he had done this interview a week beforehand. Yeah. Because I think, and I was even in the crowd, I just recorded the interview maybe 4 o'clock and then got to the match and watched him being presented to the crowd, and there's not many people there and it's not a great atmosphere. And I was just thinking,
he deserves a better moment than that.
Yeah, I was like, wait and you see what this guy's put himself through for Ireland. You'd even get emotional thinking about it. So that's on the way between 8:30 and 10, and it's really, really worth your time. He's a very special fella in a whole host of ways. Right, Newsround, we need to rattle through stories here.
Yeah. Harkening back to last night, Mick McCarthy says he's happy to leave Ireland's in-form under-21s where they are. The current senior manager oversaw that 3-1 friendly win over Bulgaria at the Aviva last night. Jack Byrne, as we mentioned, helped create goals for fellow debutant James Collins and indeed Kevin Long, while Alan Brown opened the scoring as Ireland continued their unbeaten 2019. The under-21s sit top of their Euro qualifying group after coming from behind to win 3-1 away to Sweden last night, with Troy Parrott scoring twice. And despite the clamour for Parrott's inclusion, McCarthy's content to leave them under the guidance of Stephen Kenny.
That is a good team. And I said that before the game. They're going to beat Sweden away 3-1. I think they're solid in all departments. And for me to be taking them unnecessarily away from that, unless, of course, I keep saying it, Troy Parrott gets in the team at Tottenham, or Connolly gets in the team at Tottenham, and Lumbey I really like. If I'd have took them today and just played them half a game or something, and the 21s would have got beat. So you might give me a bit of credence for that. I mean, Stephen, I think at the moment, he's just got the best job. I've come in and we've got the results, so we've got a bit of momentum, however we've done it. Stephen's got the 21s, they're his team. You're all talking about him coming through into the first team. Well, when he gets a job, it's not going to be that long now. Next November, it might be before that. He's just perfectly placed. And at the meantime, it's me that's come in and could have quite easily took the brickbats had we drawn in Gibraltar or lost in Gibraltar. And that's been protected him from that. And hopefully we qualify and we get to the Euros, and it will be seen as a really good decision to have done what was done. So I think we should just... I'm delighted for him, for Keith, Jim Crawford. They've got really good staff. And I have to say, I thought on Friday night they were different class. I didn't think the opposition were great, but they've gone today and beaten Sweden. And as far as Troy Parrott is concerned, Stephen didn't pick him. So, he wasn't going to... No one wouldn't want me to phone him, because he's going to have to tell me he wasn't playing him. So, but what I do love about Troy Parrott is that when you're being left out of the team, you come on and have an effect. You don't come on and sulk and show everybody your distaste because you weren't from the start. So fair play to him. I'm delighted with it.
There's Mick. Rory McIlroy has been voted PGA Tour Player of the Year. It's the third time the County Down golfer has been given the Jack Nicklaus Award by his fellow pros. McIlroy won the FedEx Cup by claiming the Tour Championship at Eastlake last month. He also won the Players Championship and the Canadian Open and registered 14 top 10 victories. Elsewhere, Scotland back row Jamie Ritchie will travel to Japan tomorrow to link up with the squad ahead of the Rugby World Cup. The forward injured his face in his nation's final warm-up game against Georgia and was left behind for further assessment. Magnus Bradbury will remain with the group as precautionary cover. Scotland, of course, are Ireland's first opponents in their pool in Yokohama on the 22nd of this month, and the Irish squad flew out to Japan today. Sam Bennett was denied a third stage victory on this year's Vuelta a España today. The Carrick-on-Shore rider finished just 2 seconds behind Philippe Gilbert in a sprint into Guadalajara. Primoz Roglic retains the leader's red jersey with a 2-minute 24-second lead over Nairo Quintana, while the Metropolitan Police in London has confirmed that Raheem Sterling was the target of alleged racial abuse from a Bulgaria fan during England's Euro 2020 qualifier at Wembley. The Manchester City winger, who has been a key figure in the fight against racism recently, is understood to have been subjected to discriminatory language during the first half of Saturday's game. A steward heard the individual in the Bulgaria section of the ground, and they were ejected from the ground and handed over to the police. Munster Rugby and the IRFU have appointed Ian Flanagan to the position of Munster CEO. Cork native Flanagan will take up the post in mid-October. He's previously been commercial director with Leicester City for 4 years. Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson is making steady progress from his calf calf injury, but he's not yet ready for a return to full action. The Brazilian stopper sustained the injury in the opening game of the season against Norwich at Anfield. Liverpool goalkeeping coach John Achterberg says today that Alisson has returned to light training at Melwood, but he won't be involved in Saturday's meeting with Newcastle. Adrian will continue to deputise. And Energia Park in Donnybrook has been confirmed as the host venue for the Ireland Women's Olympic Hockey Playoff. The World Cup finalists are slated to play Canada over 2 legs on November 2nd and 3rd for the right to travel to Tokyo next year. It's the first time that the traditional rugby venue will be used for hockey, and will have a special pitch laid for the occasion.
Richie, thanks for that. That's the news round for this evening. Slightly shorter than usual to make time for a few different bits and pieces. Before we get into Mark O'Shea on Saturday's final, to celebrate the opening of the new clubhouse at Farnham Estate Spa and Golf Resort in Cavan, we are giving one lucky listener the chance to win a year's golf membership for this very wonderful Par 72 Parkland course. To be in with a chance of winning, just tell us who won the FedEx Cup in 2018. Not 2019, 2018. Text your name and answer 53106 for 30 cents and we'll give you a call after the show. So a year's membership on offer there. For more details on membership and golfing breaks at Farnham Estate Spa and Golf Resort, you can check out farnhamestate.ie. So after 8 o'clock, Keith Wood talking rugby, followed by David Myler. We're starting the football show at 8:30. But up next, Mark O'Shea in studio.
Off the ball on Newstalk.
Ireland's best mobile network just got better. It's like going to the match with your best mate and then finding out you're sitting beside your favourite ex-player and they're like, you know your stuff. And you're like, this is even better.
With Vodafone, get 30 gigs of data and even better, a free Samsung Galaxy S10 when you switch to Red Complete. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready? Offer available to new Vodafone customers signing up to Red Complete